Welcome back to the deep dive, everybody. Today, we're diving deep, really deep, into the story of a guy you've probably heard of, Warren Buffett.
The Oracle of Omaha.
Yeah, exactly. And, he's got this incredible journey, right? Like starting from, delivering newspapers to just like massive wealth. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it really is.
And so what we've got for this deep dive, we've been looking at a bunch of different discussions about his life, his strategies for investing, and his mindset. The stuff that makes him tick.
Right.
Because we want to go beyond just the surface level stuff. We want to find those little nuggets, the things that you listening, you can actually use. You know what I mean?
For sure. Actionable insights.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Actionable. So let's start at the beginning, right? I mean, the guy's got a zillion years of history, of career. Where do we even begin with this?
Well, I think to really understand Buffett, you've got to go back to where it all started.
Yeah.
I mean, he was born back in 1930, right in the middle of the Great Depression, Omaha, Nebraska.
Wow. Okay.
And I think that environment, all that economic uncertainty, it really shapes how he thinks about value, like what's actually important.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And then even as a kid, this guy was hustling. I read that he was 6 years old, buying Coca-Cola, selling it for a profit.
Oh, yeah.
That's not just playing store, that's understanding business.
It's incredible. And that entrepreneurial spirit, it didn't fade away. He bought his first stock when he was just 11 years old. City Service preferred.
11 years old. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, talk about starting young.
That's pretty wild. So it sounds like he was always kind of driven even from a really young age.
Absolutely. But it wasn't just about the doing. He was also a voracious reader.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Especially he was really into The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham.
Oh, yeah. Value investing. That's his whole thing.
Exactly. That book was the foundation of his entire investment philosophy.
So was it Graham who set him on this path?
Yeah, I mean, Graham's work was all about looking at stocks as pieces of actual businesses, not just these random symbols on a ticker tape.
Right.
He taught him how to figure out what a company was really worth, its intrinsic value, and then only buy it if the market price was way lower, like a bargain.
So even back then, it was all about finding those hidden gems, those undervalued opportunities.
Exactly. Graham called it a margin of safety.
Interesting.
Protecting yourself from mistakes.
Yeah.
Or just bad luck in the market.
Smart. So it's amazing how all these things, the reading, the early hustle, the discipline to save money and invest it, all of that kind of came together,
Yeah.
It's he didn't wait for the right time or anything. He just started.
That's a huge lesson right there. We see so many people waiting for the perfect moment, but Buffett he took action, used what he had, and learned as he went.
And I guess we can't forget his dad, right?
Yeah.
His dad was a stockbroker.
Yeah, Howard Buffett. And later a U.S. congressman, too.
So, I mean, that kind of exposure to the financial world, that had to have some influence.
Oh, definitely. It was in his blood, so to speak.
And there's that story, right, about the book he read when he was 7 years old? 1,000 Ways to Make $1,000.
Right. That seems to have been a real turning point for him. That's when the passion for business really ignited.
I mean, 7 years old. It's amazing how these little things can, shape a whole life,
It really is. And if you look at his teenage years, it's clear that this wasn't just a passing phase. He had all these different schemes going, selling golf balls, delivering newspapers.
Hustling.
Yeah, hustling. And by the time he graduated high school, he had saved up a ridiculous amount of money. If you adjusted it for inflation, it'd be over $50,000 today. The guy was a natural.
Okay, so we've got this, young Buffett, full of ambition, right? He's got the drive, he's got the hustle. What happens next?
Well, he goes to college.
Makes sense.
University of Nebraska first. And then, this is where it gets really interesting, he heads to Columbia Business School.
Columbia, big time.
And that's where he meets Benjamin Graham.
The guy from the book?
The very same. And Graham wasn't just a professor to him. He became his mentor, his guide in the world of value investing.
Okay, so for our listeners, who maybe haven't read Graham's book, what was the basic idea here?
So Graham's whole thing was about finding these companies where the stock price was way lower than what the company was actually worth.
Right. Undervalued.
Exactly. It wasn't about following the hype or the trends. It was about looking at the actual business, the balance sheet, the assets, how much money it was making.
Right. The fundamentals.
Yeah, the fundamentals. And then buying when there was a big discount that margin of safety we were talking about earlier.
So it's not just about buying cheap, it's about buying value.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. So Buffett learns all this from Graham in class, but it doesn't stop there, right?
Oh, no. After he graduates, he actually goes to work for Graham at his firm, Graham Newman Corp.
Wow. So he's like putting all this theory into practice.
Yeah, like real-world experience working alongside the master himself. That really solidified his belief in value investing.
I bet. Okay, so we've got the early drive, the mentorship. Now we get to the big one, Berkshire Hathaway.
Ah, yes. The legendary Berkshire Hathaway.
Which, everyone knows that's his company, right? But it wasn't always this massive thing, was it?
No, not at all. It started as a struggling textile company. Buffett started buying shares in the 1960s, and eventually he took control of the whole thing.
So at first he was trying to turn the textile business around?
That was the initial plan.
Yeah.
But it didn't really work out the way he hoped.
Really?
Yeah, the textile industry was in decline. Some people even say this was a mistake early in his career.
Interesting. But obviously he figured something out.
He did. This is where his genius really shines. Instead of being stubborn, clinging to a sinking ship, he saw the potential of Berkshire Hathaway as a holding company.
A holding company?
Yeah, basically a way to own and manage a bunch of different businesses and make strategic investments.
Okay. So a parent company.
Exactly.
So from this almost failed textile play, he builds this giant conglomerate.
Exactly. And today, Berkshire Hathaway owns all sorts of businesses: insurance, utilities, railroads, you name it. Plus, huge stakes in companies like Coca-Cola, Apple, American Express.
Wow. That's like a who's who of the biggest companies in the world.
Right. And this brings us back to one of his most famous lines. Our favorite holding period is forever.
Yeah, he's all about the long game.
And it's not just a saying. It's his core belief. Invest in quality businesses and hold on to them. Let them grow over time.
Patience.
Patience is key. While everyone else is chasing the next big thing, he's thinking decades ahead. And remember, we talked about how he sees market crashes as opportunity.
Yeah, buy low, sell high.
Right. But it takes real guts to do that. When everyone else is panicking, he's buying up great companies on sale.
That's pretty amazing. Okay, so we've got this incredible investor building this empire, but what about the man himself? What are his core values, his principles?
Well, one thing that really stands out is his simplicity.
Simplicity?
Yeah. Despite being one of the richest people on the planet, he lives a remarkably modest life, still in the same house he bought decades ago for a relatively small amount of money.
Really?
Yep. And he's famous for his, simple tastes. Burgers and cherry Coke. No fancy stuff.
So it's not about the money for him. It's not about showing off.
No, not at all. It's about the business, the principles, the joy of investing, and crucially, it's about integrity. Yeah. Throughout his career, honesty and transparency have been his non-negotiables. It's how he's built this incredible level of trust with everyone, from his shareholders to the entire business world.
And that reputation, that's got to be worth its weight in gold.
Oh, absolutely. It's a massive asset. And it all ties into another one of his famous quotes: never invest in a business you cannot understand.
Right. He sticks to what he knows.
Exactly. Before he invests, he makes sure he really grasps how the business works, its competitive edge, its risks. He avoids anything too complex or unfamiliar.
So he's not jumping on every bandwagon.
No. He stays within his circle of competence.
Yeah.
And that saved him from a lot of potential losses.
Makes sense. So it's this perfect blend of understanding the business and having this moral compass.
Yeah, it's all connected.
So let's bring it all together. When he's looking for companies to invest in, what's he looking for?
Well, he wants those undervalued companies, the ones with strong fundamentals, a real competitive advantage, a great management team, a history of making money.
Solid, dependable businesses.
Right. Not flashy, not trendy, just solid. And he's in it for the long haul. He's not trying to get rich quick. He's letting those investments compound over time.
And that's where the patience comes in again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that ability to go against the crowd, to be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful, as he famously said.
That's powerful.
So it takes a lot of discipline, a lot of conviction in your own analysis to not get swept up in the emotions of the market.
So it's not just about being smart, it's about having the right mindset.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about his business savvy, his incredible investment track record. But we can't forget about his personal life and his his philanthropy.
Yeah, he's known for giving a lot of his money away, right?
He is. And it's not just, writing a check here and there. He's pledged to give away 99% of his wealth to charity.
99%.
Yeah, mostly through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Wow.
It's an incredible act of generosity, and it's had a huge impact around the world.
So for him, it's not just about making money, it's about using it to make a difference.
Right. It's about giving back, making the world a better place.
Amazing. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm thinking about our listeners, and I'm wondering, what are the key takeaways here? What can they learn from Buffett's story?
Well, I think one of the biggest lessons is that you don't have to wait for the perfect moment to start. Buffett started young, learning, experimenting, taking risks, and he never stopped learning.
Yeah, that's a great point. Always be learning.
And patience, of course.
Yeah.
In a world that's all about instant gratification, Buffett is a reminder that the most meaningful things often take time.
And integrity, being true to yourself, being honest in your dealings. That's something that will never go out of style.
Absolutely. And find mentors, people you can learn from, people who can guide you.
And don't be afraid to go against the grain. Sometimes the best opportunities are the ones that everyone else is overlooking.
Right. Be bold, be independent.
And remember, success isn't just about money. It's about making a difference in the world, leaving a positive impact.
Yeah, that's the legacy that really matters.
So we've covered a lot today. From those early days in Omaha, to the rise of Berkshire Hathaway, to those core principles that have guided Buffett's life and career. It's a story that shows what can happen when you combine hard work, patience, a thirst for knowledge, and unwavering integrity.
It's truly inspiring.
And here's a final thought for you, the listener. As you go about your own life, your own journey, think about those forever investments. What are the things that you're willing to hold on to nurture, to grow, not for a quick profit, but for the long-term value they bring to your life? It's something to think about, isn't it? Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.